Cuba is running out of fuel, planes cannot refuel, and a nation is being pushed toward collapse without a single shot fired. This is not a natural disaster or economic accident, but the result of deliberate pressure applied at maximum intensity. What is happening in Cuba right now reveals how modern geopolitical warfare works in 2026. In early May, the Kremlin confirmed that Cuba's situation has moved beyond hardship into a critical emergency phase. Aviation fuel supplies are collapsing, forcing Havana to warn international airlines they can no longer refuel on the island. That single shortage effectively isolates Cuba from global air traffic within weeks. Tourism, the country's most vital source of foreign currency, is being strangled at its peak season. Public transport in Havana has slowed to a crawl as fuel shortages ripple through daily life. Universities have shifted to remote learning to conserve electricity amid widespread power instability. Long fuel lines and rolling blackouts have become symbols of a society under extreme pressure. This crisis did not emerge overnight, and its trigger can be traced to a single policy decision in Washington. In late January, the U.S. president signed an executive order escalating decades-old sanctions. For the first time, secondary tariffs were imposed on any country supplying oil to Cuba. That move targeted the core artery of Cuba's economy, imported energy. And once that artery was cut, the chain reaction spread faster than Havana could respond. Once fuel stopped flowing, the crisis moved from airports into the core of Cuban society. Electricity generation began failing as refineries shut down without crude oil inputs. Hospitals, food distribution, and water systems were suddenly operating on emergency thresholds. The United Nations warned that basic public services could collapse without immediate energy relief. As pressure mounted, Russia stepped forward, not quietly, but with unusually direct language. The Kremlin confirmed constant diplomatic contact with Havana to prevent systemic breakdown. Moscow accused Washington of using economic coercion to force political change. Russian officials openly compared the strategy to earlier pressure campaigns against Venezuela. At the same time, this confrontation unfolded while Russia sought limited de-escalation with the U.S. elsewhere. That contradiction revealed how strategically important Cuba remains in global power calculations. Mexico also refused to step aside under U.S. pressure. Humanitarian shipments of food and fuel continued despite the threat of secondary tariffs. These deliveries were framed as life support, not political alignment. But even combined assistance from allies could not fill Cuba's widening energy gap. By mid-month, analysts warned that national fuel reserves were approaching absolute zero. As fuel reserves vanished, Cuba entered full-scale economic triage. Airlines began canceling routes or flying empty aircraft solely to evacuate citizens. European carriers rerouted long-haul flights to refuel outside Cuban airspace. Charter operators reduced passenger loads to survive round trips without local refueling. Every workaround raised costs and weakened Cuba's tourism competitiveness. On land, the government imposed emergency austerity measures across all sectors. State employees moved to 4-day workweeks to conserve electricity and fuel. Non-urgent medical procedures were postponed indefinitely. Fuel sales shifted to dollar-only limits, disrupting domestic transport networks. Food distribution chains fractured as intercity logistics stalled. Social media revealed rising public frustration beneath official restraint. Authorities tightened controls on dissent to prevent unrest. Havana signaled willingness to negotiate, but only on equal sovereign terms. Washington hinted at diplomacy while maintaining maximum economic pressure. Cuba now stands at a crossroads where energy, sovereignty, and global power collide.